So if you're hurting, watch this. So I remember when I had first gotten discarded, right? There was no warning, there was no explanation, nothing. I just sent a text message and I never got a response. So when I tell you that I understand where you are, if you're watching this and you're hurting, then believe me when I tell you, because I can't sympathize with you more, because that was me. Now, the point of this video is to give you some perspective so you can start to detach. And when a lot of my clients come to me, the first thing they want to know is why and how. Why did the avoidant do what they did? How could they do this to me? And they get stuck in that. And I understand why, but at the beginning of starting to heal and the beginning of getting a handle on this pain that you're constantly feeling from day to day, and trust me, I know how acute it can feel and be. It's like an open sore, a deep open cut that just does not heal. And you're told to just kind of let it fester. That's what it feels like when people tell you, just get over it. Just move on. You can't just move on. But here's what you can do. I can challenge you and I can ask you the first question, which was, I remember when I was talking to a good friend of mine and I was telling them all of these things that, were going on in the relationship. And they asked me the question and I really had to pause. And I was like, you know what? That's a damn good question. And it really kind of jolted me out of this narrative that I've been playing, that, I was the one who was suffering and I was the one who, was at a loss, and I was the one who, wasn't worthy and all of these things. And they said, if they were so bad and they didn't show up for you here, and, they never told you that I loved you there, and they never did this and they never showed that, what exactly do you miss about them? Right? Why does it really hurt so much if that's how they treated you? And I was so focused on my pain that I didn't stop for 1 second to ask myself, like, what is it that I'm actually missing? Right? And when you ask yourself that, it really challenges this narrative that you have that, like, man, we had this great, amazing relationship and it was so amazing, and then they just left. Right? Because if you really are honest with yourself, it wasn't that great and it wasn't that amazing. Right? And so once you can see the relationship for what it actually was, and not the rose-colored glasses version that you remember it to be, then you can start to get a handle on this, acute sense of pain that you have around it, which, if you're anything like I was intense, right? And that's one of the reasons I became a coach, is because I know how intense that pain can be and how damaging and difficult it is, and the fact that you probably unknowingly made this person your, reason for being. And when they pull the rug out from under you, you don't even know who you are anymore, because now you don't really have a purpose, right? Your purpose was them. And if you're like I was, anxious people tend to do that, right? But it's not your fault because you didn't know any better. But I really need you to challenge this idea that, they're the one that won, right? They got to walk away scot-free with no consequences. That couldn't be further from the truth. And they most likely did love you, but the love and the sense of fear that they got when you got too close was so excruciating and so intense that the only way that they knew how to, get rid of that or calm that fear and that pain down was to distance. It wasn't really a conscious thing. It was something that they did instinctively because that's what they've been trained to do. And that comes from childhood. And that's not about you, right? So, that said, the final thing that you can do to kind of start moving on, and to challenge this narrative that, You're the one in pain, and I'm not saying you're not in pain, but what I'm saying is when I was in it, I just kept thinking, man, they got away with no consequences, but that's not true. The final thing that I would say is where are you now not getting your needs met, and how can you now meet them, right? Because if they were your reason for being, then what else can you do to make your life more meaningful? And if what you're really missing is the need for love and connection and a sense of well-being and a sense of purpose, where else now in your life can you get those needs met? So I hope that helps. If you're struggling with this, you can book a one-on-one call with me. Link is in the profile, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.